A lot of people say that to get the best deal on a PC, you have to build it yourself. I personally think that to get the best deal on a PC, you buy someone else's. You wait till their time is right, and then you scoop in and get it for a good deal. Their trash, my treasure. So once again, I took to Marketplace to find content ideas, and I found this, a guy selling his entire setup for $450. So of course, I offered him $400. He accepted it, and I went right over there to pick it up. It seemed like a pretty solid low to mid-ish tier PC. So did I get hustled? Of course not, I'm me. But what kind of deal did I get for my money? And how much is this stuff even worth? And what even is this garbage? And who are you people? In the for sale post, it stated that he was selling a system with a Ryzen 5 2600, 16 gigabytes of RAM, a Sapphire R9 Fury, a monitor, mouse, keyboard, and a mouse pad. Let's take a look inside because I've had a look at it and it's a pretty odd combination of parts. All right, let's get the side panel off and start digging around inside of here. So this case, by the way, looks to be a Thermaltake Core V21. It's a small-ish cube style ATX form factor. It definitely does the job. It's meant to be very modular, so you can take panels off one side and put them on another side and kind of mix and match stuff, stack them. So immediately inside, I noticed something very odd. There's a ITX form factor motherboard, which is meant for much more compact builds than this one. Mounted to it, we have a Ryzen 5 2600, underneath this 240mm AIO, and then next to that, we have 16 gigabytes of some pretty off-the-shelf teamgroup memory, nothing too special about that. But then we have these gigantic Radeon R9 Fury. Look at this gigantic video card. It's huge. It has 4 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory, which is kind of odd, but there it is. And then above that, we have a 500 gigabyte NVMe SSD. Again, very average PC aside from the Fury, which is a pretty old graphics card from like 2015. It was top of the line back then, but it kind of competes with 1650 nowadays, which is going to use much less power than it. And underneath the motherboard tray, there's a EVGA 80 plus bronze 750 watt power supply with, you know, some pretty nice braided cables with actually black wires. So it looks pretty good. Look at that fan. It's kind of odd because, you know, they block a lot of the front surface area of that 200mm fan. There's some blue fans over there, and some more blue fans over there. And of course, the motherboard RGB is synced to blue because all these other fans are stuck at blue anyway. Next we have the monitor. It's a Dell Ultra Sharp 1440p 60 Hz monitor. Not really sure why they went with this. I'd have much rather seen a high refresh rate 1080p monitor, but it works and it looks really good in some of those more cinematic video games. For the mouse and keyboard, they were both wireless. This is a velocifire 80%. I think it's mechanical. It's probably pretty cheap. And for the mouse, it's a Logitech G602. It had some dead batteries in it, so it's getting stood in with a G302 wired, so I don't have to worry about finding batteries. And SteelSeries mouse pad, because he asked me, do you want the mouse pad? And I was like, sure, what are you going to use it for? So let's fire it up, run some benchmarks, and then put something together in Part Picker for about the same price and see what you can get. It's probably trash. It's definitely trash. All right, so for the benchmarks, we had Cinebench R20, we had Furmark, we had Shadow of the Benchmark, and we had Time Spy. In Cinebench R20, it scored a 2905. In Furmark, it scored a 6075, which was kind of a surprising result. Like 6075 from a R9 Fury is kind of unexpected. I'm sure it has something to do with the fancy HBM memory and fine wine. And then in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we got 55 FPS, all maxed, motion blur off, 1080p resolution. And then in Time Spy, we got 4000 977, which is slightly better than, like, say, the laptop that we tested a few weeks ago. So very average performance from what I can tell, but it works perfectly fine for games like Rocket League and League of Legends and any cinematic games that you would want to play at like 1080p resolution. The 1440p is kind of a reach for this poor R9 Fury. So I would, at the first opportunity, swap this monitor out for a 1080p monitor. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put these parts in PC Part Picker and build something that can roughly compete with it for $400, but I just don't think that's gonna be possible. Okay, so I tried. I really did to build something in Part Picker for less than $400, and it's just not realistic with dedicated graphics, and nothing with a integrated graphics is going to perform nearly as well as this does. So I picked a 3200G. A 3100 would have been $20 more. A A320 board, only 8 gigabytes of RAM, only 250 gigabytes of storage. A 1650, the cheapest one that money can buy, and the cheapest power supply that I can find on here, and it still comes out to over $400. And that's not even including a monitor, mouse, keyboard, mouse pad. So then I went ahead and put this thing together. 2600, a 240 millimeter AIO, a B450, 16 gigabytes of 3000 megahertz RAM, a 500 gigabyte SSD, 1650 because that's roughly equal to the performance of the Fury, Thermaltake case, and a 80 plus bronze 750 watt power supply. The weird one is this monitor at $370. I really feel like it's more of a production-based monitor, which I don't personally care for. I just want to throw as many hertz at the screen as possible. Keyboard, no prices available. I'm sure it's probably about $50 because it seems like a cheap Chinese board. And the Logitech 602 wireless mouse at $80. And it came out to nearly $1,200 with the keyboard not being listed there. I think it would be right around that $1,200 mark. So a third of the price for something that is really good, in my opinion. So one thing I forgot to mention, another realistic approach would be getting like a Dell Optiplex with like an i7 3770 in it and putting a 1650 in it, and that would roughly equate to $450, but you're still not getting a monitor, mouse, and keyboard, and people forget about how much those things cost at times. Again, this monitor's price is kind of out of the water. Like $300 for a 60 hertz 1440p monitor is a little insane in my mind, but it's obviously a professional part and it looks really good. Overall, I'm really impressed with the deal I got with this setup. Obviously, I have better hardware laying around, but I wanted to get it so that I'd have more hardware. I really like fiddling with this stuff to gather up kind of lower end stuff like this so I can bring you guys different levels of content. As always, guys, please subscribe. If you have any ideas for content you'd like to see with any of these parts, let me know with a comment. Hit that like button, and like always, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Welcome to Coil Wine. I love you. That's gonna be my new intro.